Hi everybody, I'm Den Haring and welcome back to my channel, Fish Den 365. Been a little bit since I made a video, so it's good to be back with you. Today I want to do a bait review on the Rage Tail, the Strike King Rage Tail Menace Grub. This is a Rage Tail grub. It's called a Menace. It's made by Strike King. Here's the packaging for it. It's a 4-inch long grub. You have to break the tails apart so that you get the action off the tails, but the whole thing that makes this grub work is the tail, the action of the tails. And so I've been using these Menace grubs now for a few years. There's another one, another version of this. It's called a Magnum Menace grub. It's a larger version, a fatter version of it, bulkier, so you can make your presentation look bigger and bulkier with the larger one. I don't have any of those yet. I just have the regular size one, but I find this to be a very effective bait. And it's a versatile bait too. You can fish this in a lot of ways. I like this color here. It's called Bluegill. It's got a nice pattern color to it. It's got some gold fleck in it, a little bit of blue. And I find that this is a pretty good color in a lot of the fisheries that I fish. I have a few other colors here I thought I'd show you. This is KVD Magic. That's a nice color. This one's called Glacier. It's kind of like a clear white color. And this one's called Candy Crawl. This is a really nice bluegill imitation color. Candy Crawl. Really like this one too. So what are some of the ways that you can fish this? Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is it works well on a punch rig. You could rig this Texas rig with a punch rig, throw it into that heavy cover, maybe ounce and a half, 2 ounce weight, and it'll go down through that cover. And because the profile of this bait is quite narrow, it'll get down through those weeds easy enough and get to where the fish are, down near the bottom. So it's good on a punch rig. It's also very good on a football head jig. I like to throw a football head when I'm fishing rocks, and oftentimes I'll go with a football head to imitate crayfish. So in that particular case, I might use a black jig, and I would use a Menace grub that has some brown or a little orange in it, maybe some green pumpkin, to imitate a crawfish. Probably the way I fish this the most, though, is just on the back of a jig. I like to throw it on a jig like this one. This is a man's stone jig, and this is a black jig. I like this black jig color with the bluegill Menace grub, especially if I'm fishing water that's tannic, dark waters. I like that a lot. Let me rig this up for you. And one of the ways that you can rig this bait or help yourself is to put the bait next to the hook and then use your thumb as a guide. So I put my thumb right where the hook starts to bend. So that's where I know to put the hook through the bait. So we're just going to thread this on there now. On about that 7th ring right there. I come through. It's real important that you get this on very, very straight. So you want it to hang perfectly straight, just like that. Now that's a perfectly set up jig, and that's how you want it to go. So the nice thing about throwing this Menace grub on a jig like this is that it's very versatile. I find that this particular jig, the stone jig, is a cover-all type of jig. It comes through brush fairly well. It comes through weeds fairly well. It comes through rocks fairly well. It's not a weed jig, it's not a rock jig, it's not a brush jig, but because of the shape of its head, that triangular shape, you can throw it in all those situations. And I like to fish a lot of different cover situations through the day, and this is just a little bit more efficient. I don't have to go changing my jigs or picking up different rods. I just keep using the same jig and cover those different cover options without having to make much changes, and it just allows me to fish more efficiently. But when I'm throwing this particular jig, I like to pitch it out there or throw it out there and first let it fall, and I'll just let that go right down to the bottom. And most of the time I'm fishing it that way, vertically, trying to catch fish on the fall or when it hits the bottom. And you can fish this a number of ways. You can hop it on the bottom a few times. You can stroke it by lifting it up where it comes up and then comes back down again. And then you can shake it down there a little bit, and then when you're done, you can just start retrieving it back, and now it becomes a swimming presentation, a swim jig presentation. Even with this type of jig head, this actually swims well too, the stone jig. So I can swim it back to the boat, and if I pitched or cast fairly good distance, then I might be able to pick up a fish on the way back to the boat if I couldn't catch one in the cover that I originally threw it to. So it gives me a couple of opportunities to catch fish, and that's my favorite way of fishing this thing. Oh, got this one on the jig. It's a little better than the last one. Usually the jig bite is. All right, we're getting it together. A bit better. He hit it right away on the fall. It was an epic fight, folks. This is a nice one. Good 4-pounder. Worked for him. Jig fish. Usually the bigger fish are. That's why you come out here, for this kind of fishing. Oh man, let's put him back. He's good, man. The other jig that I like to fish is kind of like a barbed wire green pumpkin with blue. Hopefully you can see that. This imitates a bluegill very well also. I like to throw this maybe in a little bit of clear water. And I like that black jig when we have that tannic or dark water. Now there's one other thing that I haven't done with this bait yet, but I've been thinking about trying it. And that is, you saw how I rigged this flat on this hook, right? But you may also be able to rig it this way, vertically, so these tails are vertical like this. That way would be a much more of a swimming presentation, because as that jig is coming through, these tails are kicking this way, and it looks like the side profile of a bait fish. So I have a feeling that the bait will work that way, because it has pretty good mass to it, but you will have to rig it perfectly straight. And one way you can do that is there is like a mold line on this bait that goes right down the side of the bait, and it's right in line with the tail. So you can use that to guide your hook through and come out. And as long as you come out perfectly straight on that line, you'll be perfectly straight with the tail, and it's likely then that your jig will swim upright like this, just the way you would want it. It won't turn or roll on you. You wouldn't want that because it wouldn't look natural. So I haven't tried that, but that's something that you may want to try. I'll probably be trying it this summer just to see how it works, because I have a feeling it'll have a good bait fish profile, and you'll be able to swim that back to the boat very nicely that way. Well, you know, we're living in some crazy times these days. The stock market's going down, coronavirus scares all over the place. It's even a more important time now to keep fishing, because fishing is an excellent way to ground you. It keeps you connected with other fellow fishermen. And in these trying times, we need to stay connected with each other, and we need to stay connected with nature too. If you enjoyed this video and got something out of it, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. My next video you're going to want to watch, because I'm going to be showing you a secret bait that has caught me a ton of fish, and giant fish, over the years. I've never shared it with anybody. There's only a few people that even know about this, so you're going to want to watch that next video. If you want to know when that's coming, if you hit the bell, that'll give you a notification for when my next video is coming. So that's one way you can tell when the video will be out, because my very next video is going to be about that. Remember, we're certified Bassified. Hope to see you on the water, and as always, may God bless your fishing endeavors.